Thank you so much for making the time to come to talk to us for this case study today on how to consistently develop employees and build talent in a global mobile workforce. We've been working with you and your team since 2021. Do you want to tell us your role and a bit about BIMA as well?
I'm Chief People and Organisation Officer at BIMA. I have a team of HR business partners that span the globe. And in BIMA, we're effectively providing health and insurance services to some of the poorest people across the world.
That really fits into this whole global mobile workforce that you're developing. Tell us more about your overall vision.
Although we're just over 10 years old, we're probably only 4 or 5 years into putting in what I would call like the people capability building blocks. So the 360 is a really important part of that, together with things like an employee engagement survey, starting to look at talent programs. So whoever you work for, irrespective of your manager's experience, you're getting access to a consistent experience, both as an employee, but also as an organization. We can start to think about our people and how we plan for the future.
What was the driving force behind the 360?
I think feedback is something we've always valued in the organization since I've joined, and we needed a framework to make it easier for people to give and receive feedback and start to develop giving and receiving feedback as a capability in our organization. And we just felt that was really, really important, both not just in an end in itself, but as a way to drive personal and company performance. Some of our biggest challenges we know we solve when people have really open and honest feedback discussions. We also saw 2 other benefits though. One is it helps our people management development agenda, but also it helps get alignment on what is important in someone's role.
How did you put it together? What was the content? What were the themes?
We took a lot of advice, I think, from your team at Track, because you work with a lot of organizations. Like a lot of companies, we had lots of things that were really important. So we got our leadership team together and we just said, right, what are the things that we think are the most important? Because what you put in a 360 is really what you're saying to your organization. This is what we value.
Yes.
I've worked in lots of organizations where I've seen too many questions across too many areas being asked. And by having less questions, we find people spend more time on the qualitative comment sections. And that for us is where the real value of the 360 is.
So the employee experience has been a positive one as well.
Initially, there was some nervousness, particularly when some of the cultures we work with, 360 was not necessarily something they come across. Once we got over those, the employee experience was positive because we were carving time out for people to have regular conversations with their manager.
Does it fit into anything bigger at the moment?
What we're looking at in 2023, things like key role succession planning for the first time, potentially development programs where we identify high potentials in certain locations. The 360 absolutely is going to underpin that. And your point on the employee experience, one of the reasons it's been positive, and this is where the way I love, and I think your team at Track helped us with this in BIMA, is that the way that a question is asked, it's not are you good at collaborating, it's do I see you collaborate? And the observation is really important because it depersonalizes it.
What difference has the 360 made, and what changes have you seen or have you heard about as a result?
In an organization that's so dispersed as ours, the feedback we've had from employees is just the feeling that we're invested in their development.
How has it worked with your global workforce?
The portal that we use means that people can do it from anywhere. I think from a geographic spread, I think there are some features in the 360, and particularly in the report and the notes that actually Track provide that are embedded into the report. It's really helpful because regardless of where you sit, that helps you debrief as a manager. I think what we do find though is that we have to allow for the fact with different cultures, they will look at feedback differently.
Yes.
And it will feel different and they will receive it differently and they will go through it at a different speed. So we just allow for that to play out locally, and that's where our local HR managers are really, really helpful.
Lee, thank you so much for your insights. I don't know if there's anything else you want to add.
I guess I've worked with 360 in lots of organizations, and what this latest kind of intervention in BIMA told me is you have to take everything that you've learned before, but kind of park it all, use what works, but you have to adapt because no two organizations are the same. The starting point for me was knowing our audience
Yeah.
and then making sure that we had a process and an end goal we were looking to achieve, thinking about the audience, which is not a Western European
Yeah.
office-based workforce, for example. So I think I've learned a lot in the process, and I've had to figure out, what do I park and what do I use from my previous experience.
Right.
And the track approach gives us a framework which we like the fact it's been tried and tested in other organizations as well.
Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.